We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets.
I have the body of a weak and feeble woman.
All men are created equal. Because I have a dream.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Hello everybody and welcome to a exclusive ModsPod with the professionals. Today we have got Luke, Lennon, Kobe and Matthew, and we are going to be talking about conspiracy theories. Oh, God help us. So we're going to talk about the moon and the moon landing. So we'll go straight over to Kobe first.
Now, in 1969, Neil Armstrong claimed to have stepped foot on the moon, which many do believe to this day. This was around 54 years ago, which already makes it fairly difficult to believe, as the world was not that advanced. But I have a few points that I'd like to make, which make me believe that the moon landing was faked.
Good, let's go.
Now, first up, and arguably the most famous sort of conspiracy that people have from this, is about the flag movement. That flag was moving, and that gives the idea that it was a studio setting, because there is no gravity in space. Now, I'm no Isaac Newton, but I know for sure there is no gravity up in space. So how could anything, a light object or cotton, like on the flag, how could it move the way it did? You know, it was rippling in the videos when he says, "One small step for man, one big leap for mankind." You know, it was, the video was, the flag was rippling, and that couldn't happen.
So, Kobe, if it is a conspiracy and it was faked in a studio, why would America want to do that?
Now, at this time, there was a lot of countries that were growing in lots of ways, in the economy, and being more popular and being well known. And this wasn't long after, you know, the wars and the empires, so they'd lost out on some key things. So, and they were also in a Cold War versus Russia. And
so there was a space race in the Cold War. Yeah. Basically, there was an arms race in nuclear weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
And the Russians and the Americans were trying to get to outdo each other, get into space. So, arguably, what I'm suggesting is, if it was fake, that's why they faked it, so they could be the first ones.
Yeah, 100%. And they selected Louis Armstrong. No!
Louis Armstrong might have sang a good song about it.
What a wonderful
world.
Mood. But yeah, they selected Neil Armstrong as their man to do it.
So, Kobe, if this thing is fake, surely in the last 50 odd years, 60 years nearly, somebody who knows about it, who's in on the conspiracy, would have came out and said it was all a hoax. How can you possibly keep?
Well, yeah, 100%. Like, that's definitely a possibility, and that's why this is why it's a theory and it's not a fact. You know, you can never fully prove a theory realistically. So that could be true, but there's still more points that sort of going away from that. There's still more points as to why I have this theory, like the fact that there was a lack or like no stars in the photo, and other small details like the fact that the shadows didn't align with the different photos. They're all in different places, or they wouldn't be where they were. Like, even though they're smaller details, in these big events, you're going to look for the smaller details. So that's like...
Well, it's a significant point. So the whole world pretty much watched the moon landing in 1969, and everybody in the world thought this was genuine.
Yeah.
Obviously, the quality of televisions at the time was a bit black and white and a bit grainy, wasn't it, Matthew?
I thought they had, like, where the ship launched off, I thought there was loads of people watching that as well.
Yeah, there was. So from Cape Canaveral, I think, in Florida, is it? I think that's where it's from.
Yeah, so that could...
so yeah, that's that. They saw this rocket going up in the sky. You can't say all those people are blind, can you?
Yeah, that's true.
So unless that bit was real and this rocket just ended up in the ocean somewhere, and then they cut to the recorded footage, essentially is what we're saying if we're going down the conspiracy route.
Yeah, but I just find it too hard to believe.
Yeah, but how do they know people was in there? Because did they all see him go in there?
Correct. You don't know necessarily. I think they did, but that could have also been fake, couldn't it? But also, and coming back to the idea I just said to you a minute ago about surely someone would come forward. These people had like families, you know, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, they had families. Surely, the whole families have been muted as well? Never to say another word ever again?
Yeah.
You know, so...
Maybe the families didn't know.
Or are they in on it? Well, so when Buzz and Neil come down to
clearly, if the government want this to happen to America, they're definitely paying good amounts, because anything for this to come out as being fake gives Russia a huge advantage, because it shows that America could be desperate in a way.
Yeah. So Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin have written books and all sorts of stuff. Mate, they've cashed in big time on
Absolutely.
this fake thing. So that's why they're happy to go along with the
Yeah,
conspiracy, is what you're
absolutely.
saying. And they've
Yeah.
told their wives to shut their mouth.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
And the
'cause
famous quote would have been ruined forever.
yeah, we're living good here. Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, but how do you know if they've paid all the money to send the people up into space and the spaceships to send them up there? How do you know they haven't paid the people off?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Or promised them this lifestyle of celebrity and books and book deals and everything. All right. So thinking about that, then, why have we never gone back? If it's so easy to fake it in a studio now with technology and ultra 4K, why have we not gone back? Why have we not made a new version of this film? Or is it just because it's simply
It wouldn't be as
too
iconic.
difficult?
Of course, it wouldn't be iconic.
So we've done it once.
It wouldn't have been nowhere near as iconic.
Wouldn't that shut everybody up though if they could like just show us one more
Yeah,
time?
but that would seem desperate as well. It would seem like they're trying to fake. They're trying to prove a point that it was fake. They want to push through with this. This is America, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a huge thing, and it's known by the whole world. Everyone knows about the moon landing. So to do it again, it wouldn't have the same effect, I don't think.
But it would be cool though, wouldn't it?
It would be cool,
Ultra
yeah.
4K,
Yeah,
crisp.
100%.
There'd be no denying that, would there?
Yeah.
Or take a civilian with you or something like that.
There's still lots of things there, aren't there, to look for life on the moon and stuff. So it's definitely possible, which is, it digs into this theory a bit.
Yeah. So you're right. They've put the little truck's called Rogue or something or
Yeah.
just on the moon,
The little, yeah.
bringing rock
Mhm.
and dust and stuff back. So they've been back. So you're saying the iconic one small step for man, that's
Yeah.
enough, and it can never be replaced again by humans.
Absolutely.
Okay. Luke.
So how, back then, because of how bad the cameras were, they wouldn't know the difference, on the TVs. And, if it's a studio back then, it wouldn't really make a difference. But because of how good the camera quality is and, the studios are now, they probably would notice the difference between it all and believe that it's not real.
So, all right, that's a good point, because these days, they enhance, is that the word? They enhance old
Yeah.
footage and stuff.
Yeah.
They've got things from World War One, haven't they? They've
Yeah,
colorized,
just colourised,
they've zoomed
yeah.
in. Why hasn't someone done that yet with the moon landing footage?
Well, no,
Because
because not
it's
everyone
not
has.
real.
Does everybody have the access to the footage?
Well,
Like, is
anyone
it-
can get it off YouTube now, can't you?
Yeah.
So if they've enhanced every possible thing right back to Victorian times, you see these things on Instagram all the time, or I do, because I'm bored and follow history things. They've colorized and sharpened all these images from the 1850s, 60s and 70s. Why can't they get something from the 1960s and enhance that and prove once and for all? Or is it because if they did that, you would definitely see the shadows in the studio?
No, that's fairly enhanced, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's only a still though. That's
Yeah,
Photoshop. So
yeah.
just for the record, we were looking at a picture of the moon and Neil Armstrong next to the flag. So why is somebody not taking the footage, enhanced it like we've seen things from hundreds of years older? Because would it show that it was, you could clearly see it was fake? Is that why no one's done that
I
yet?
suppose, yeah, that's what I think, because they're not going to. Surely they can't colorise it perfectly, can they? Because there's another place in there. It's not.
Well, obviously there's all shadows and stuff, but it just baffles me a little bit. Now, I do believe the moon landing was legit. I do believe it happened. But on that note, though, I do think enhance it then. We can enhance everything else with technology these
Absolutely,
days.
yeah.
Do it. The problem is, it seems, why you're not doing it.
Yeah, but maybe they like the idea of it being a theory.
Yeah, but people.
I feel like if they could have enhanced it 50 years ago, they would have, obviously. But I feel like nowadays the theory of it still gets people searching. It's still getting what they want from it.
I can understand that too, especially in the world. We're all online, aren't we? Everything.
Yeah. But
Lennon.
then again, it could be anyone who enhances it. Like someone at home could just enhance it. Like they're not getting anything from the footage. So
Yeah. Apart from a million contracts because you've proven the moon landing was true or not.
And also, people planning to go to Mars and everything. I don't get how they can plan to go to Mars if they've not had more test runs to go to the moon, because obviously Mars is much further away, and they might not have the best technology to go there and live there.
Well, that's
so
the
they
thing,
must
isn't it?
try on the moon first.
Yeah, but they haven't. That's the problem. There's not been any humans on the moon since. That's weird to me. Surely you'd want to show your strength. If the reason was for the Cold War, they were trying to beat Russia.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to beat them again and again and again and again and again? Wouldn't
especially
you want
now
to be
as
the
well with
best?
what's going on, with how they're definitely not on great terms with Russia, and they're providing Ukraine with
It'd be
help.
good propaganda, wouldn't it, to say,
Absolutely.
look how good we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but everyone's got so much opinions now, so that would make some citizens, like American citizens, work against them in a way because they don't want.
That's true. So, but an example of that, Kobe, is last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, or maybe a month ago, India just sent a rocket up to space. So we've got all these world powers now: India, Russia, China,
Yeah, Brazil,
Elon
whatever,
Musk.
yeah.
All these people are going to space. surely now is the time to take that opportunity to be the one to do it again.
Yeah.
Why would you want to lose
no.
this to India? Why would you want India to be the next?
What, are
country
they
that-
on the moon, are they?
Well, who knows what they
they're
could
trying
do.
to like they're trying to send it as close to the sun as possible to like see like the like atmosphere there and everything. That's what I've seen.
Well, they've got no hope and bob hope of that, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Without being singed. Right, so are we settling then that the moon landing fake?
You can't settle it, can you? For me, it was
50-50.
fake. For me, it's fake. The flag does it for me.
So, all right, Kobe, you think fake?
I'm
Lennon?
like,
50-50.
because it's not there's not chance that there could be a bit of gravity. It's known there's zero gravity in space.
Yeah.
And
You can see it in the video when he's bopping about. Like,
how is the flag moving?
is it? Was it moving?
It was moving.
We'll look at that.
It was moving.
So
We don't
that
need to
little
look at
ripple
anything.
in
I know it.
You know it. And that's fine. That's your sort of go-to bit. Luke, fake or real?
Fake. Real.
Matthew. So 1 real, 2 fake, 1 50-50. I'll say real. I think it was real.
Yeah, but the thing is, it could be fake because, like, if they had all that research from back then, like how they did it, why couldn't they just, because of how much money they got now, why can't they do 20 times better?
Yeah, this is why I think absolutely, because we'd have proved it. Someone would have bottled it. Someone would have told. Someone would have said something. Someone would have left it in a will, a note, a letter, something when they died, so the government couldn't kill them off. All those other conspiracies, like we think the government just bumps you off to shut you up. One of the reasons we think that John F. Kennedy might have been killed is because he was going to reveal to the world that there was an alien in Area 51, the Roswell alien. So the government felt that the world wasn't ready for this. Is one of the conspiracies of Kennedy.
Yeah, he was assassinated.
That he was killed by the government because he was going to tell the world about aliens. And that was 6 years earlier. So it's in the 60s still.
Yep.
Maybe if you think Kennedy's a great conspiracy. I don't know if we're doing Kennedy tonight, but maybe in the future.
100%.
There's all sorts of reasons why Kennedy might have been killed.
Yeah.
But actually, Area 51 is an area you might know about in Vegas, in Las Vegas.
Especially
desert.
more recently, people were planning on raiding it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it was fully shut off by US military.
So what are they hiding
So
then?
who knows?
Is it a thing? Is it a myth? Or is there something there that they are so scared to let anybody get
It
near?
could be anything. Like, because when you go on Google Maps and stuff, it doesn't let you zoom into Area 51.
Yeah, be careful because you're admitting that you've done that there. Disclaimer, Kobe is not.
From what I've heard on TikTok.
Saved your life there. All right, so that'd be an interesting one as well. The Roswell alien, this thing apparently crashed. Obviously, it crashed into America, obviously, because it's the most important country in the world, isn't it?
Of course.
No alien could have come to any other country but the US, but here we are. Luckily for us, it was the US. So Area 51, I think, became a little bit famous, didn't it? In there's a couple of films. Was it in Stranger Things as well? When it's that or similar thing, isn't it? With that Russian sort of containment unit where the aliens are protected from anyone from the barriers. That is another day, possibly. Right, so Moon, then we'll go with a 1.5 win for the conspiracy theories.
Yes.
So the next big one that we want to sort of talk about, really, and a bit more controversial probably, is 9/11. So 9/11 obviously was a day the world changed forever.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember working in McDonald's at the time. I was on a break. I'd come in from university and I just went down for my break in the staff room and the second plane hit on the telly. I remember it live. I remember exactly the day, the smell, the locker room, everything. And it was just shocking. And at first you think the first one was just an accident. A plane has gone out of control, tragedy. But then when you watch the second one hitting, it becomes very clear that something bad is happening.
Yeah.
So I suppose to try and lead you guys onto this, or you bring it back to your way, are we saying the conspiracy is not that planes went into the building, but that it was an inside job by America, and it wasn't genuinely terrorists, Al-Qaeda? All right, so who wants to start with that one then? Why you think it might be an inside job? What would the Americans gain from this?
Go on.
So I mean, there's lots of different conspiracies, like that the government had planted bombs in the building, and that when the planes hit, they would blow up, or that it was remote controlled.
So we'll get to that bit in a minute, all right, the bombs and stuff in the plane, because I think we've all seen the footage, haven't we, the little plumes of smoke. Tell me, Matthew, why the US government might want to do this.
So the reason why America would want to fake this is to go to war with the Middle East, because it's a resource-rich country with oils and stuff like that.
So not fake it, but like set it up. Because it did happen, didn't it?
Yeah,
the planes definitely went in the building.
We know that the planes hit the building.
Right, so they needed an excuse to go to war. So why was it something so horrific? Why did they have to innocent people for this
I think
excuse?
I think it's because we don't want to stereotype here, but America loves America. Like the citizens love America. The government love America. Like everything they do is usually
They're
for
so proud,
them.
aren't they, to be American?
100%. So obviously, for them, it's a horrific thing for such a big company organization with many people in there to happen. Like,
Yeah, they're just innocent. Well, they're innocent people, which then that emotionally gets people involved in this situation. That they feel angry. That innocent people who've done nothing wrong. They've gone to work in the trade center. They're in the cafe. They're in the kitchen. They're in an office, and they've had to die. 3,000 people died that day.
Yeah.
Just because if we go down the conspiracy route, because the government needed to trigger the heart and the emotion of the American people.
You can even link that again to the last one of how maybe they wanted people to conspiracize because it gets people wanting to know more, and then it can even extend to the point where it's getting more and more people to join the army, military forces to help America to go and fight against them, which was obviously for oil and resources.
So there's optics there, and then propaganda again, isn't there, to try and persuade these people for whatever the reason is. You have been attacked. We have been attacked.
Yeah, so it's like America has been attacked, not the trade center has been attacked. America has been attacked.
Had to be personal.
They made it personal, didn't they? So George Bush at the time, the president, George Bush Jr., in order to go to war, just in case you don't know, the United Nations has to agree.
Yep.
This is a way to try and stop
wars.
That
was made after the Second World War, wasn't it? To stop it again.
Absolutely. So we can't just go into any war. And this is part of the problem with 9/11 is because Tony Blair, our Prime Minister at the time, invaded Afghanistan with America, with George Bush, but without the permission from the UN. And Tony Blair is tarred with this for the rest of his life, that he was a war criminal because he illegally went into the Middle East. Obviously, all the American people at the time wanted this. They wanted revenge. This Osama bin Laden character was created as this devil, this evil, evil guy who has attacked America, attacked innocent people. And I think for me, the reason why the Trade Center towers were chosen by bin Laden or otherwise is the symbol. It was the Trade Center is about trade, power, wealth, money, everything that America is to the world, and they brought that down. It's the optics of the thing. But it's the innocent bit. So, of course, George Bush then comes out, doesn't he, and says, we have been attacked. Yep. We will fight back. Yep. Terrorism will not win. 100%. Yep. And that's where the war on terrorism started.
It's continued for so long now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There's always constant fighting in the Middle East.
Well, it's not ended at all, has it? The world definitely changed everything from airports to...
That's where, and even when it was taken over, Afghanistan was taken over, the Americans are still, they've still been out there fighting against...
Yeah. So Bin Laden was killed years ago. And actually, the Americans just pulled out of Afghanistan only last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or 18 months or so ago. After all this time, 2001 to 2020 odd, and the Americans were still there all this time. That's a long time to be there if you were getting revenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds like a reason why you stayed.
But pulling out would have been the wrong choice. They would have seemed like cowards to pull out, especially when people believe, like myself, that it could have been faked, it could have been set up.
Yeah. I understand completely on this one why an inside job could definitely be fair on this. So we're going to go to this war. George Bush has said we're under attack. If I think back a little bit to World War II, so the Americans get involved mainly after Pearl Harbor.
After the ship, there was a ship that was hit by the Japanese that could have even been an accident.
Yeah. Well, so the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese suicide bombers, and that got America involved in the war.
Yep.
That was clear. Again, in the point of what we're trying to make here is America have been attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And the Americans are like, no, you don't attack us. We're going to get you. So they joined the war. But in World War One, America got involved in a similar sort of way. But there's a conspiracy element to the idea that this ship, this passenger boat, the Lusitania, was shot by the Germans and sank, and American civilians died. The Germans said that this ship had supplies and weapons. America said it was just a normal cruise liner. So the Americans have been attacked, but the conspiracy there is that the Americans wanted to get into World War One, but they needed an excuse back home to rile the people up. And they said that this Lusitania, these innocent civilians on this ship, were killed by the Germans. Yeah. Grr, let's go to war.
Because we're America.
There's been history, hasn't there? So this idea of trying to make the people angry and emotional.
It's a pride thing, yeah.
They've obviously done it before to try and get into
You could argue that, couldn't you? It seems that way. Pearl Harbor was out of their hands, but the Lusitania, Was it?
Yeah.
Was it? Is that just a reason to get into
But
the
you'd
war?
obviously be able to see if
Yeah,
it
there's
was
so many,
like a
there's so
loot
many
ship or
things they
something.
could gain from war. They know the obvious losses, but going to war
Well,
would have been
financially.
a big thing here.
Yeah.
Because it's about it's about pride. It's about saying, we are doing this, and it's also about getting the youth to being stronger for potential wars that they actually need to be in the future and stuff.
I don't know about you guys, but would you quite happily go to war and potentially die for something you didn't really believe in?
Yeah. Probably
Cody,
if it's a world war.
So, like, it's a war, and there's nothing really emotional in it for you. Just Britain's gone to war because you love your country. Just let's say, would it be easier for you to go to war if there was something emotional connected to it? Like, the fight is a good fight.
Yeah, 100%.
So World War II, obviously against Hitler, that was a good fight. This was an evil
to
man.
happen. It had to happen.
World War One, arguably, there was no point in World War One.
It could have been between Austria or Serbia and Hungary, couldn't it?
Yeah. So you can see what I'm trying to say here. Then the idea of the emotional thing that this 9/11 attack made young Americans, like you're talking about, so angry that they were willing to go to war.
It has to be personal for them to get involved.
They did that so
Recruit
well,
to the war,
especially with how big the city it was in, how many people died. It was well. If this is set up, they did it fantastically because it went personal.
Well, the thing is, we probably never know, really, will we? So back to Matthew, you were saying before about the bombs that potentially they're the bombs that, as a controlled explosion, they seem to sort of like just come out the side of the building at perfect times. So I watched a program once called Loose Change. It keeps getting taken off the internet. It's, I guess, really controversial. It is this topic. It says that the Americans set this up. That a controlled explosion takes so many seconds, whatever the size, the size divided by the speed. And on this day, both Trade Center towers fell at the exact speed that a controlled explosion would. You've said about, Matthew, the smoke coming out the side to suggest there's bombs.
Yeah.
Is that possible? Would it be possible to put the bombs in the building?
Yeah, I say it
Someone
could.
would have seen them, sure.
Yeah,
They could fake it for like
they could all have been insiders as well. There's so many ways they could have done it. It would have been a hard task, obviously.
Yeah, but they was completing the build. They was like the building was complete, but they had it wasn't been built long, so they could
fairly reasonable time. The building's been there.
Yeah, but they could just say they're just finishing the last bits.
Yeah, no. So I see what you're saying. But the buildings were well and truly complete by this point, and they were super strong. They were used with the most strongest steel possible. And there has been about 7 or 8.
It was a well-known thing they were made with such good material. It was what America were not bragging about. They was telling people, So that's why more people believe this could have been set up because they're going to flex so much. Not like they're going to brag that they've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got the strongest buildings,
and they just fall within a couple of hours.
100%.
So there's been about 8 other planes or helicopters that have crashed into skyscrapers since and before. That burned for a day, 24 hours, 42 hours.
Smoke cloud,
They burned and burned, and they stayed standing.
Yeah,
it's like where the planes hit it as well. It's like near the top.
Yeah.
If it hit near the bottom, you could see why it fell. But it hit right at the top.
Yeah, and that's true. But why are all these other buildings that burned for 48 hours and more stay standing, but the Trade Center burnt for 2 hours?
Which is meant to be so strong as well.
2 hours and it collapsed.
Maybe they could have when they planted the bomb, they could cut pieces out of some certain places so that it fell like that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying essentially is it had to have been bombs or something because those buildings didn't collapse.
There had to be something in there to make it.
So they said that the aircraft fuel flew down the elevator shaft, melted up all the metal.
Though. You can.
However, aviation fuel, when it burns instantly. It's gone.
Not within 2 hours.
It explodes, it burns. It's such a high thing, but the steel melting point is a bit of science now, isn't it? But the melting point of the steel used was so much higher than the highest temperature of aircraft fuel.
That's where it gets.
Even if it was on fire for 48 hours, the melting point this building fell into, the 2 buildings fell in 2 hours. That's the thing where people get upset by it, isn't it?
It's just where the planes hit as well. You can't really.
Yeah, for it to hit the top and just go flying down. That's what they said about the fuel.
And they say some people say it hit there because they had documents there that they wanted to go, so no one could get them.
Yeah, and that is the thing. We'll maybe talk about the phone calls, the voicemails that people left in a minute, because we've heard loads of these. I don't know if you've heard them, but they seem really sort of a bit robotic. They seem a little bit like acting, especially on the planes. The other plane that was hijacked.
Good actors could probably.
Yeah. And you don't necessarily want to say that, do you? Because this would be such a tragedy.
And if it is real, you're feeling disrespectful.
Yeah. But I mean, the conspiracies there, that's what we're talking about today, isn't it? Is conspiracies. So one of the things I heard in the weeks and months after that, you guys weren't even born, oh gosh, I must be very old, that passport from the terrorists fell out the sky.
Yep.
Literally to the feet of the FBI, conveniently below. No singeing. And they go, oh, we know who was on the plane. The terrorist passport has arrived. So that kind of thing is just absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, because was there any people on? Was the plane hijacked? Was there any other people on there? Or was it just terrorists on there?
It's all passengers. They're both passenger
None
planes.
of them seemed to happen. There was no passport.
No other unsinged passports fell mysteriously at the FBI. But the thing with that is, you're never quite sure if that's true or someone's just saying it.
Yeah, because people on the plane, obviously they've died now. Like they couldn't say anything.
Yeah, but if
the voice notes that they said would be to their loved ones.
Yeah.
If people are just saying it, how else would they know that it was Osama bin Laden?
Well, exactly. And it's interesting because George Bush, only within a few hours before he knew anything, he said, Al-Qaeda is to blame.
It just seems like an easy way to get into Middle East.
How did you know Al-Qaeda? Like, how so quickly
and
did
how
you know Al-Qaeda?
Ready Tony Blair was to go with them as well. It seems like this could have been set up previously.
Yeah.
Like they didn't then discuss it for years and years. Should we go to? Because it's not something you just do instantly, especially when you're meant to talk to the UN. Like when for it to happen so quickly, for them to just commit a war crime.
That's the thing, isn't
it? To go to war with them. So
from the attack, you're right, Kobe. From the attack,
a big thing.
It seems like something that was ready to happen.
Just too smooth, isn't it? Just too smooth.
Yeah.
From the attack to go to war, it was very, very quick.
And then for England to get involved in as well so quickly.
Because we have this special relationship with America. Tony Blair would argue that we need to support our ally, because then there was an attack in June 6th, a couple of years later, where they blew up the buses in London and the underground trains. People died there. That was our 9/11.
Manchester.
Mm-hmm. And so all these terrorist attacks continue. So the world, like I say, changed in 2001. We're at war with an idea now, aren't we?
Like excuse, no.
And it's getting worse. Right as we talk about this podcast now, in who knows in a couple of years what's happening with Israel. But at the time, there's a terrorist attack a couple of weeks ago in Hamas attacked Israel. We have this huge war now, don't we? So maybe 2001 was the start of
it was what needed to happen. Like it not needed to happen, but it was just something that was bound to happen to start off how the new world, the 2000s. It's the new era, and it all started off.
Yeah,
how it did.
What a nice way to start the century. Eh? So, linking to 9/11, the two other planes, all right? Do you know anything about the plane that hit the Pentagon, allegedly?
Yeah. But, the thing is, that's quite bad because they told everyone to go to the other side of the building for the exact time that the plane
Convenient, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What I love about the Pentagon is that there's a hole, perfect round hole in the Pentagon wall.
And there was no,
at the wall where you say no one
cameras
was.
as well. It didn't show any...
So they've released 5 scenes from the CCTV, just 5 stills, pictures that apparently show a plane. I have seen all 5 of the stills. There is no plane in that.
No.
But the circle on the building, the wall of the Pentagon, is a perfect circle. There is no wing damage. So if you think about it, if a plane's hit a building,
why would if it was set up? Why would they do that? Why would they make such a perfect circle if they know that people are going to question it?
Because it's a missile, isn't it?
Why didn't they just let out the whole
that hit the wall, maybe fired by the Americans. If there was a plane there, you'd have engines dug into the ground. You'd have the tail, all the wings in the wall, wouldn't you?
That's not easy to set up, is it? So that's why this conspiracy theory gets damaged a bit, because you couldn't secretly place an engine. It's not an easy thing to
But
set
if
up.
that's fake, if the Pentagon one's not real, then it makes perfect sense then that the 2 towers wasn't either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why it's a theory, not a fact. Like last time, it's going to have its flaws.
Yeah.
The thing I don't get is why they wouldn't just put up the whole video. Why'd they put out just screenshots?
That's all they need to do, isn't it? Show the CCTV.
The other very obvious flaw is are they genuinely that heartless to be able to let and set up a 3,000 people death sort of thing? That's why people don't believe it, because are they that heartless?
You couldn't believe it, because if that's true, you'd never trust your government ever again, would
compared to
you?
the population of America.
Yeah, but it's not about that at all. It's innocent lives.
I think they had to make
it could be
sacrifice.
one person. It could be one person. It's still an innocent life, isn't it?
If the government is prepared to do that, you could never trust your government again. It'd be anarchy, wouldn't it?
They needed a big excuse, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So then that third plane that the passengers took over, United 93, So the terrorists took over, but the passengers fought back, is the story. We've got voicemails from them phoning their relatives saying we've been hijacked, we're going to die, blah, 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 love you, love you, love you. That plane smashed into the ground, disintegrated. Not a single bit of plane or body left. Not one corpse, not one limb, not one anything. The entire plane disintegrated.
Yeah.
That is impossible.
It is impossible.
There are planes that have flown into mountains, full force, and you still see limbs.
Like today, you get
You at least see a bit of a,
debris.
like, a
There
wing
should
or
be
something.
debris.
And the crater, arguably, you can see in the pictures from the crater, that's not a plane hitting the ground nose first. So all of these things are why this is open to a question. All these things are why the conspiracy theory for 9/11 is a thing, because even if you want to believe that your government is responding and protecting us, you know, they can then spy on our phone calls. So the Terrorist Act, the Patriot Act.
That's why we did this podcast, because you want to be able to, everyone should be able to have their opinion on any sort of theory, but then they don't. Like, if it's this serious and, when it's meant to be a free country nowadays, the whole world's meant to be free, human rights, when people are still having their say and getting, and if people have their say and then they mysteriously, something happens to them, it just all seems to link up, doesn't it? Everything, like the whole world seems to
so
link
they talk a lot, don't they, about like Illuminati and all these like powerful people.
Going into sort of like,
they're all part of like
the whole world being a simulation.
But you'd never sleep, would you? If you sort of go down that rabbit hole, you'd never sleep.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe it's just better to not think about that kind of stuff.
To believe the Simpsons theories.
Yeah, the Simpsons. Just watch that. That's the future. So we are then, I guess, what we're saying then, 9/11 conspiracy. Matthew, yes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it wasn't staged.
So real.
I'm gonna say it was real.
Lennon.
I think it's fake.
You think it's fake? 9/11 real. Fake. I'm saying this in hope that 9/11 was a genuine terrorist attack.
I can't bring myself to think it's fake, really. I can bring myself to give points and accept why people believe it, but I just don't see how anyone could be that heartless.
All we've got to trust our leaders to protect us, haven't we? And if that is what they're prepared to do,
I just think with America, they want to be as big and as powerful as possible. And I think when they got into the Middle East and they're like taking the oil, they're going to be even more powerful than they already were.
Of course they are.
So especially with in 2000s, the whole world's economy is rising. There's so many superpower countries.
Yeah, absolutely got to compete. So in a few months in our GCSE course, we're going to learn about one of the reasons how Hitler became Chancellor, became the leader of Germany, and it was called the Reichstag fire. Yeah. So the Reichstag fire is the government building in Germany, all right, where their parliament was set on fire. Hitler said it was the communists in order to blame them and get them out of the way. But probably the truth is that the Nazis set the fire because they needed an excuse to get rid of the communists. So if the Nazis are prepared in their country to set up this disaster, this tragedy, this terrorist attack, is it possible that other countries could do similar in order to get their means?
Yeah, definitely.
Which would suggest then that although we hope it isn't, if the Nazis did it...
Was oil that important?
Yeah, absolutely. The economy's built on oil, isn't it?
It fuels everything.
Everything, costs, petrol, shops, wages, everything.
Yeah.
So that's really getting a bit... There's a good word on that one. And I think we could probably another 3 or 4 hours on that. But we've got a couple more to talk about. So shall we move on to the pyramids?
This is one that we were eager to do because it doesn't feel as controversial.
Yeah, much funnier, I guess, isn't it?
It's one that you can definitely have a bigger say on.
It's one that you see like everywhere. It's on TikTok. It's like channels on TV.
So what's the thing? So what we're going to say is the pyramids were not made by slaves in Egypt.
Yeah. So they said that it was the slaves that did it, but the seeds, like the bricks were ridiculously heavy, and it was done in such a short amount of time. And it's like there's stats that are seen that's like there wasn't many slaves, like there was obviously, but there wasn't enough to build that.
They could have had 70 billion. I still don't think they could build it.
There wasn't many slaves. The bricks were ridiculously heavy. There was no technology to be able to lift the bricks that well, and obviously stacking up the way it's formation as well. How did they keep going, and how did no one fall in? Because
and as well, like how does it point directly north?
Well, inside this where they built them for the pharaohs, didn't they, and the important people. That's their sort of burial place, pointing to the afterlife.
But another thing is like people believe that the Egyptians found them there, and then they just...
So is the suggestion there that there has been some sort of civilization before us?
There has to have been life before that's not as well registered.
So the planet is 5 billion years old.
Yeah, but
But there's
some of the earlier,
it could be-
well, like known for sure bits of life is the ancient Egyptians. Like that, we have theories of people that were known 5 billion years ago.
So the Egyptians about what 6,000-7,000 years ago. We have been on Earth as the humans that we are for just about 40 to 70,000 years. We think.
Yeah.
Out of 5 billion years, that is like a second
That's
in the
literally
grand scheme of time.
Yeah.
So
there could have been anything before.
it's very possible
we
that
could have decreased. We could have less advanced. Who
yeah,
knows?
because we're gonna go extinct within a period, aren't we? Humans, us today, we will be off the planet
everything that
100,000 years from now. I don't know.
If we're thinking of like obviously going to Mars and stuff, if there's like civilizations before that, they could have already done that and gone to other planets
to expand.
It's quite ignorant of us or arrogant of us, isn't it, to think we're the
claim.
first and only,
Yeah.
like of our ability to get.
No,
this
it's
far.
not. It's not. It's just what we have reason to believe it. We can go with what we know.
Well, there is no other evidence apart from these massive pyramids in the middle of nowhere that if you've been to Egypt, or just see pictures, the pyramid's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Just when you see it, you think there is no way human beings could have rolled this stone from wherever they've carved the stone from, miles away, probably.
It was so like even as well as the what they call the sphinxes as well.
Yeah.
They're just as heavy. They're just as they're so big. They're carved perfectly.
But like
I swear there was like a
the
small
body.
amount of time they had to do it. Like that's what it says on some of the theories that the slaves had to do it in a quick time.
Yeah.
If it was made then, so how did so little people do it in such quick time?
Well, this is exactly, they couldn't. And I always think to myself, with the stuff that we, sometimes you have all these reenactments on telly and they do like old things from the past.
Yeah.
Why don't they make a TV program to build a pyramid with the technology they had then? The reason is because you couldn't.
But the thing is, if one
the
brick
stones
was like,
were so heavy.
So
if one brick was like moved differently, the whole pyramid would.
So I understand
off.
that you could put your bricks on logs, on trees, and and sort of roll them. I get that, but
to get the top ones, on.
absolutely lifting that up onto the next one.
Using what? They're literally using their body weight.
They'd have to do ropes and pulleys and stuff, but you would need some weight, some massive weight to lift it up.
There wasn't a lot of reported slave casualties either. Like by making the pyramids, and there's so many ways that could go wrong.
You'd be squashed, you'd be falling off,
you'd be dehydrated. There's loads of different ways that it could go wrong.
So why then has somebody not made the TV program by now? Because some of the garbage that's on telly.
You can't,
it will take
you
years.
Can't.
And like the maths that go into, you need to have like
But
every single brick in the exact place.
You need to have every single human on the planet
but
to be able to
it
get it
wasn't
done.
humans that built it, is what we're saying, isn't it?
We're saying
that's why they can't do a
life.
reality show, because it wasn't humans that built it.
Yeah.
Because of like the technology we have nowadays and like all the big machinery, like heavy lifting equipment we have, you still can't like lift it that much.
Even if we were to use them, it ruins the point because we're saying they did it with ropes and body weight.
They didn't have cranes and all the rest of it.
So how the thing is like they're what they're saying, they built all by person, but like the amount of stuff they had back then, like it was minimum, and I didn't have a lot at all.
There's no way, is there? I mean, come on. Well,
the rope back then can't hold that much weight.
So they're like
it's really hard to believe. I think this is one of the more
it does
agreeable and believed conspiracy theories.
I want to see someone
doing it today. We're not going to offend
today.
anyone by it anyway. So people are more free will to say this because 7,000 years ago they could have. Like Lennon said, they could have found it.
Yeah.
They could have found it and taken
100%.
credit. It could have been billions of years before that.
Yeah, they have made boats and all sorts of reenactment of everything, like with the technology that they've done Roman rebuilds and everything.
Apart from that.
But no one's ever made a pyramid because you can't. Matthew, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, how do we know they didn't have cranes and stuff?
Well, we don't, I suppose. But would we have? I mean, the Egyptians are the society that wrote everything down, the hieroglyphics. They would have communicated within the hieroglyphics the technology used for it.
The thing with the hieroglyphics,
has all the hieroglyphics been translated? Yeah,
absolutely.
But their pictures that they draw on there, they like some of them show like stuff that we have today. Like I've seen like pictures of it. Some of them show like helicopters and stuff like that. I've seen it like
really,
yeah.
See, that's interesting. I might have a look at that myself. Definitely. So aliens, then, could it be?
Yeah, 100%.
It's possible.
And it links back to all the way back to when we talk about Area 51 and stuff. It could be something so well hidden by, because obviously this theory's not come about 7,000 years ago. Likely, like the theory's been well known for the last however long years, which could be protected by certain people as well. So it could be linked together, or it could just be the fact that nobody knows.
Or there is a
and all,
power on Earth.
but
Yeah.
from that they could. The thing is, they
It might not
with
be on
Area,
Earth.
with
it could be
Area
anywhere.
51, people like after the Egyptians could found aliens and hid them up somewhere, and then people now have found them to put in the area to put into Area 51,
Yeah.
and that's where they're keeping them to like to use them and like to hide. That's why they're probably protecting so much of Area 51 because of like how like the aliens.
So why do we need to protect them nowadays? Why can't we just say, here's the truth? Why is that so impossible?
So the whole world wants
yeah,
theories.
Yeah, it would reveal too
And then
much,
where
I
do you
think.
stop from that, doesn't it? That is
Yeah.
when you end up with anarchy, the end of religion,
It
because
just
there's
goes on
something
and
bigger,
on and
isn't
on.
there? So one of the things I think, I mean, I'm no expert on the pyramids. You guys are. You picked to do it. But is it true that all the pyramids, or the pyramids, the main ones that are left, are positioned in such a perfect way to
Yeah.
point to the constellations
Yeah.
in space?
Yeah.
So
and
the stars
they're all-
Like the
it
Egypt
all
one,
lines up.
it's like pointed directly north, like exactly.
Yeah.
So that can't be an accident, surely.
So that's-
No,
that's
they've
like-
meant to do that.
Is
Maybe
it-
we
is it-
have the advance. Maybe they knew so much back
And
then.
we think we are so good actually, but we're just rubbish.
Like can't,
Maybe
it can't just be a
IQs were
convenience.
ridiculously
Yeah.
high back then. Like everything was just
Yeah.
knowledge. Like, you have no way to prove that everyone was just what we consider as a genius back then.
Yeah.
Because we have our standouts, like like Albert Einstein or something was a standout of having such an IQ. But back then, did they even have standouts? Because it was a normal thing to be so smart.
True. So, all right, here's a question then. So, if the pyramids were just there by something 2 billion years ago, why is it ever written down like, oh my gosh, we found these things? Why did the Egyptians say they did it?
Credit. Like, so everyone knows that they've.
But
made
wouldn't you be
it
like,
and-
oh gosh, we found these massive things?
Nah, I think that's definitely reasons why you'd want to claim it. Because
And they wanted
the
to bury the
pyramids,
pharaohs
like,
and everything.
when you
didn't
think Egypt, it maybe shouldn't even be like this, but you think pyramids straight away. I
Yeah.
think as soon as
So
I hear
they're
Egypt, I
branding.
think
They're thinking of
pyramids.
branding from the very early days.
No, like even just think about we're the country of pyramids. Like there was a country of many things, like Rome. Like it's not a country, but they were the country. They had the Colosseum.
Yeah, yeah.
was-
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
They were the city of beautiful. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's not branding. It's more the fact that you can say, we've done this and we have manpower strong enough, because it was about that again, like a lot back
Well,
then.
with empire times, isn't it? So
And
they're
it
saying,
would
look at my
It would be
empire.
their men, which is
Yeah.
obviously luckily very different now. If they say, oh, we had the manpower to do this, we have the strength.
Yeah. So why couldn't the next empires, the Greeks and the Romans, ever do anything the same?
Because
It's
they couldn't
physically
find
not
anything. Because they
possible.
couldn't find any more. Because it was.
But like the Greeks and Romans, they're like after, just or within the period they're crossing over.
Yeah.
There must have been people alive with the skills who built the pyramids. What I'm saying to you is because people didn't build the pyramids.
That's what we're saying.
But it's like the materials where they got it from as well was like.
That's what I mean by the branding, because they found it. No one else could do that because no one else could find them, because they were in Egypt. They were planted by another life.
Wouldn't that be just absolutely amazing if the answer all along is the pyramids? That's how we're communicating with some other being, like
by the constellations?
yeah,
all link
they're
it.
pointing to this. That's the communication,
Absolutely, all the way up to space.
and that's the answer all along. It's right in front of us, and it's like so obvious. No
And it
one,
was obvious back then. They
Yeah.
could have been talking to the creators of the
Yeah.
pyramids. Who knows?
yeah, aliens, because alien just means something not of this place.
Yeah, it doesn't just
Doesn't mean they're
from
grey, like
space,
long
yeah.
finger things going. Oh.
Yeah, like they could be with us and they could blend in, and you wouldn't know you've just walked past an alien. Like, we could have just walked past
Yeah.
an alien. Not
So they are super advanced on us, but we're sort of working together. And these
and then
powerful
been
people.
sent down to. Yeah, it could be anything.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, we'll probably never know. Will we?
That might just be the tip. There might be more stuff like built underneath it that could like.
Yeah.
You have they
Because,
not digged?
No.
But what I
The
always
thing
think,
is that they dig on like the statues are like
Easter
like
Island.
Easter Island.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff like there that they found underneath, so it could
there
just
was,
be
it
that
just-
there's
it kept
stuff
going.
underneath
Yeah.
the pyramid.
so is there any pyramid remains, or are they all perfectly still
It's still
intact?
it's
No,
perfect,
they're
isn't it? Because that's
And they all
they
align
were. They
as
are
well.
perfect.
So of all
aren't they?
buildings ever made,
No, I'm pretty-
these are the things that are just they've never moved,
No, I
they've
think-
never blown
I think
away, they've
they've,
never rotted
like-
away. Not rotted, but
There's like different. Some pyramids, like not the Pyramid of Giza, like that one that's been staying standing for.
So the ones in the Valley of the Kings are the most famous ones, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they're still perfectly like coloured. Everything.
everything about it is
nothing's
so
faded.
perfect.
Like nothing's.
It's because the
sunk.
rocks are so heavy. The rocks, It all
Well,
seems
because of how
it
heavy-
seems too perfect to be true.
I can understand how you could get the
It
base
can't just
done.
be a coincidence.
And it would take a long time, but on loads of logs, like loads of logs, and you're rolling it along, and it would
Yeah,
take
because
ages.
when you start climbing is when it goes so difficult. Like literally after the first layer, because it's half on it.
Yeah.
So like half of how would that not?
And, like,
fall
how
in? What
steep
do they
it
use?
is
as
Is
well.
it glued together? What is it?
I suppose weight, isn't it? So then maybe, if we're being really stupidly extreme, I can almost see how you could sort of tilt it and
Got
push and
testing
pull,
something
and
like
millions of
that.
people pushing and pulling to get the second row. But the third, and then all,
At the
it's not
top.
possible, is it?
But with the population back then, they wouldn't have had a population like we had. And
Yeah.
it's only in like, it would be in Egypt, it wouldn't be like all across the world.
Even though like it could have been because no one knew that there was other land. Like Egypt thought that there was only Egypt because it took when no one discovered other
Yeah,
land.
so the knowledge of the world is
So they
definitely
could
local,
there could
wasn't
have
it?
been there could have been billions of people, and something deadly could have wiped out. Like there's so many
Yeah.
different.
Well, we've had it before with the
But the
plague, haven't we?
Egyptians could have been in like a different part of the land and like gone over there because of like
Yeah.
war or something.
Sure. So, I mean, what's to say that the human civilization, or not human because that's us, but whatever that was before us, before, hasn't been killed like the dinosaurs with an asteroid that wiped us out? Or did they wipe themselves out with their own technology? Because we are essentially about to wipe ourselves out, aren't we?
Yeah.
With nuclear weapons. We're going to kill ourselves. So what's to say these people didn't do that before? They got so advanced and then they bumped
And then it
themselves
all
up.
just went wrong.
And then
Yeah,
society has to
and it could
start
have been
again.
from anywhere. Like it could have been from, like it might not have been from because obviously Egypt, like and Greece were like
Yeah.
well-known places. It could have been from somewhere completely random.
And we know, don't we, that the world used to be joined together, like with Pangea. So who knows, in the 5 billion years we've been here, maybe we did get so advanced that you could make that pyramid, but then they killed themselves at war. Like, why are
Or
we
they
the only
died
ones who go to
from
war? We
even
mustn't be.
Yeah, surely,
Surely
not. There's been
everything else would have been.
Yeah.
it's just there's not enough knowledge to be able to prove this or not. That's the issue. That's why it's annoying that it was 7,000 years ago.
I just want someone to rebuild the pyramids and show us that it's
Yeah.
possible.
I don't
Yeah.
think they can though.
Yeah,
Well,
like I
with,
want
like,
to
the
try it without the
calculation-
machinery as well. 'cause
Even do it with modern standards. Show us even with modern standards, and I don't think you could.
It would take years and years and years.
I don't think you could even do it with the biggest, bestest cranes in the world, could you?
Not with the size of the rocks.
Not with
No.
the weight was ridiculous.
Definitely not. Right, so Egypt, we'll never know, but we think the idea's
They found
nice.
it there.
They found it because some civilization had built this years before.
Yeah.
Some way, somehow, they no
could have
longer.
found it, or it could have been made by.
And that is the
While they were
communication
there.
hub from Earth to the powers in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of space, shall we just end with the Earth being flat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is always good for a laugh, isn't it, this one? So what do you reckon? Luke, flat? Yes
No.
or no? Lennon?
I don't know.
Kobe?
I don't think it's flat. No, I think there's too many images. Like there's good. Like we've got good images of.
So
the
what
Earth.
is it then that people say it's flat for? What's the...
like
People
the
think that the
horizon,
ocean would fall off if it was circle. Like
Well, that's what they thought in 1492. Christopher Columbus, remember, they thought if they sailed, they'd fall off this square planet. And the thing is, my go-to is that Christopher Columbus just kept sailing and sailing and sailing. If it was flat, he'd have sailed off the edge, wouldn't he? He would
Yeah.
actually at some point have sailed off the edge, but he didn't. He just kept going round and round and round. There's people like Sir Francis Drake who circumnavigated the entire globe. If it was flat, he wouldn't have done that, would he?
yeah, what do you reckon? It'd fall off at the
Well,
bottom?
if it's flat, it'd have fallen off. So why do people come back to that idea?
But then
These
what it is,
people-
what would be at the bottom of the
Well, you go into
It's
space,
the
I guess,
poles,
don't
isn't
you?
it? No. Yeah, if you go right to the bottom of the Earth, what's it?
But there isn't a bottom if it's flat. is there?
people believe there's like.
That's what we're saying. That's why we're saying that it's.
outside.
Yeah.
That's why people think it is
the
flat
ice
because if it
walls.
was a circle, there isn't a bottom.
Well, people think there's like ice walls like round the Earth. That's like the pole.
But why has no one ever seen them? What, like that? You mean? I've drawn a picture, by the way.
Yeah, how like
Yeah. so
has anyone
it would
ever?
be
No one's
like
ever.
the Earth
No one's
and then, like,
orbited the Earth and seen
ice
it as a
around
circle,
it.
have they?
Yeah, no one's been like, no one's been past. If there is ice walls, no one's been past it because it could just be being covered up by like all the experiments in Antarctica and all that stuff. Well, the people who are there, they could have just covered it up.
So why does everything look at night when the horizon's showing, or the dusk or the dawn? Why is it round?
I can't see the roundness.
yeah,
of
I
it.
don't see any. I just see flat.
Yeah, that's what.
Really?
Even when I've been in a plane, I've only seen like flat.
No, I
Yeah.
do think it's round. I just think there's too many. There's sources nowadays. I think you'd have reason to believe this 300
would
years ago.
gravity work on a flat Earth as it does currently? Would we not all just...
you not fall back down?
No,
So are we saying there that Australia...
It'll pull you down the same.
Like, if we... Because obviously Australia's 24 hours around from us.
Yep.
So if we're on top, say just for the sake of it, we're on the top of the flat, the Australians, what, upside down?
No, they'll be
And then
on the
they have to
complete
come
other
round
side.
to come up. Yeah, then you'd be upside down because your head wouldn't be
Because
up.
if it's flat...
I see what you mean, yeah.
Then when we're like...
What would they be standing on? Their head wouldn't be...
What's night and day?
They'd be up, yeah, they'd 100%. They'd be upside down.
Yeah, where's night and
That's
day?
why
What
they
makes
call it
night and day
down
on flat
under.
Earth?
Actually, the thing, I could like change, like going on saying like I think the Earth is round because it could be flat because of like we've seen the moon and it is round.
Every other thing out there is round. Why just Earth?
The thing is like the moon is round and it's got like gravity in it, but with like the Earth being flat, it has gravity, so flat could be gravity and round
Right.
could be no gravity.
Okay, so
Yeah.
why is the one planet with life on it the one flat one? We can see all of the planets with our own eyes. We've seen them, can't we? You can
Yep.
see the moon's round.
Yep.
So why is the moon round? Everything else in the solar system is round except Earth. What's the logic in that?
We can only see the face.
Well, maybe it's only
But it's round.
Maybe it's
But
something that's
people
only
think,
livable
like,
to
the
live on.
atmosphere is like this circle.
Maybe
but,
you
like,
can
the
only
world
live
inside's
on
flat.
something that's flat. Maybe you can't live on something that's round.
It's like
That's why we can't
Why
find
have they
it.
not found any other flat
But it's like-
thing in the entire universe?
no, but that could be the atmosphere. Like that's like
Yeah, but
No,
they've
but
only-
yeah,
they've
well,
only-
I get what you mean. Why are we? How do we happen to be like the only ones flat, and we happen to be the one that we only think has life?
And I suppose this then takes us right back to the start of tonight, is that there's been people in space who've seen the Earth being round. They've taken photographs of the round Earth from space.
I think there's too many images
Is
now.
that fake?
That's like I said. I think this would be a good argument 300 years ago
Yeah, without the
when we
evidence.
didn't have all the great evidence. But now I think there's
We've
so
had
many
people
images.
in space, haven't we?
Yeah, but then
looking
even
down.
then you could argue that that's faked.
Yeah.
You could argue that to this day they're just
like
making
astronauts
images,
who train. They could be trained for that exact thing.
and they could be making fake images.
Imagine that is the case.
It could go on
That'd
and
be
on.
crazy. Wouldn't it?
Because if
I
people-
don't think you could fake it
No,
nowadays.
but if people train to be astronauts, they could be training.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but I don't think you could fake
So
it.
what is it that we're looking at then? What are we looking at in the sky at night with the moon and
and
bits and
stars
bobs?
and stuff?
Because we're up below the moon and we're flat and like up there.
So isn't physics enough? Like Kobe, you're right saying 500 years ago maybe, when they're sitting in sewers and believing all that weird stuff. Like the idea that we're looking at everything else round and gravity and the physics that we know today, the physicists, they know pulls and speed and all these things. That is all based on the gravity idea. And the gravity couldn't work if the Earth was flat because it wouldn't have the same gravitational pull. And we'd all be floating off. So what do you reckon? Can't be flat, can it? It'd be interesting
not for me.
if we could maybe pick this up at another time.
Yeah,
Because you said some of your family think it's flat.
yeah.
I'll name no names.
No.
My dad thinks it's flat.
Oh, Lennon's confirm
Your dad thinks
my,
it's flat.
My dad thinks it's flat.
Maybe we should get him in on this.
it. Get Shane on the podcast.
Maybe we should
You
ask.
won't want him on the podcast.
Well, it'd be good to have someone who actually, because I think the four of us are of the idea that it can't be. So it might be really interesting, perhaps, to do a follow-up.
to get
to see
people who
what they
are so
genuinely think.
serious on it. Like,
Yeah, because
don't
people genuinely.
because for every
fight
single
for this.
one here we've gave dudes reasons why. Like, if we had someone who just solely believed, like they think it's right or they think it's wrong. 'Cause with all our theories, we've said it could be true, but here's why it might
Yeah.
not be. If we had someone who's like, I know it's true, it'd be a good one to have a better sort of
That
debate
would be
with.
interesting, definitely.
Because this one's been more of a conversation with. Like, we could have like a debate one.
Well, we could have a follow-up episode, couldn't we? Maybe we're doing JFK as well.
Christmas
That
special.
one, the Christmas special with Shane.
Yep.
With Shane. And your
Shane,
Shane
get Paul on.
and Paul.
And
Get
all the dads on.
Get Big Jim on it.
Yeah, get the dads on. The dad
Oh,
special.
dads,
Yeah,
dads us.
you guys versus the dads. Right, anyway, thank you, lads, for tonight. It's been interesting,
Yeah,
definitely.
thank you.
Really, really good fun as well.
On
And
social.
look forward to what we do. What your
Absolutely.
socials,
Yeah.
shout it out.
Kobe Alexander 20. TikTok, Kobe.xndr, and Instagram, Kobe.Alexander0. Goodbye!
So Snapchat, Lennon_Mortimer. Add it, everyone. Cheers.
So Snapchat Matthew.t2909. I have nothing but bye.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Well, that was certainly an episode, wasn't it? We will be with you shortly with our next episode. Thanks for joining us today, and make sure you follow their social. Goodbye and take care.